Hey, Kyle's wonderful here again with another wrestling review. This time it's NXT UK from August 18th, 2022, recorded at BT Studio Sports in our sports studio in London, England. So only 2 weeks after whoever in charge of NXT UK totally screwed over the fans by not delivering the main event title match that was advertised for a month between Meiko Satomura and Saray, without any explanation as to why it was canceled. Now, this week of the fans of NXT UK were screwed over yet again, as the new NXT UK champion came out this week on this week's episode of NXT 2.0 on live national television, completely ruining the NXT UK title tournament that wasn't even finished with the first round yet. So that was definitely infuriating. Like I said, only 2 weeks after whoever's in charge screwed us over on the Mako Saray match, now we get the title match screwed over as well. So just in case you didn't see NXT 2.0. I won't even mention who the champion is, but also on 2.0 this week, we saw Gallus and Blair Davenport. So it seems to be looking like there's a World Collide event coming up soon. But like I said, it was totally ridiculous to see the winner of a tournament not even finished. And it definitely made me think back to all those reports that I had heard that NXT UK canceled their latest round of tapings. So that combined with the Miko Saray match being canceled and the haphazardly spoiling the tournament kind of led me to believe that NXT UK was in trouble as a brand. Now, just before I went to watch this week's episode, news reports came out that NXT UK is done. NXT UK is finished. Its 5.5 year run has come to an end, and I'm assuming will finish after this set of tapings. Then it will be gone. Replacing it sometime in 2023 will be NXT Europe, and it will be run by Shawn Michaels, who currently, quote unquote, runs NXT 2.0, but it looks like Bruce Pritchard has probably been mostly in charge. So this has people believing that Triple H might be taking over regular NXT 2.0, maybe possibly taking the 2.0 off and returning it to black and gold. But in the meantime, this is a sad day for NXT UK fans. It had a good 5 year run, and maybe NXT Europe will end up being a good replacement, but we don't even know when that's going to happen. So I'll keep reviewing these shows for NXT UK until they stop airing. Um, but it's just a little upsetting to have the title tournament spoiled, and now we know that there's like no future for the brand as well. So the the kind of like it's not like I really felt like I wanted to watch this show. It ended up being all right. The main event was pretty good, but like I said, the tournament spoiled. Now we know that there's no shows after the next 2 or 3 weeks. A little ridiculous. So it was the wind was already taken out of my sails for this brand when they canceled Miko versus Saray with almost no explanation. We just had Blair Davenport say, "Oh, it's because of me you're not getting the main event." But we never look into the trainer's room and there's like, "Oh, there's Mako. She's been attacked from behind." Or there's never a follow up in the previous weeks. There's no follow up this week as well. They just act like Mako doesn't exist, even though she's the NXT women's champion and has been one of the biggest stars on the brand for a long time. Anyway, we're now finding out that it will indeed be a pay-per-view on September 4th, only a few weeks away, called Worlds Collide. It'll be on WWE Network and Peacock in USA. So yeah, it'll be NXT 2.0 versus NXT UK as NXT UK's last ever event as a brand. But unfortunately, some people won't make it all the way to the transition to NXT Europe, or at least not all the way through. Maybe, hopefully, some of these people will be brought back for NXT Europe. Again, they only said 2023. That could be over a year from now. 2023 doesn't mean January, February, March. It could mean October, November, December. So we have no idea how long it's going to be. And there's already been a lot of releases, and the list is probably going to grow soon. So unfortunately, these are the current names released that won't affect the tapings. These have already been taped in the beginning of July, and then we have about 2 or 3 more episodes of NXT UK left than that Worlds Collide special event. So these are the names that are released: Amale, Mark Andrews, Zia Brookside, Eddie Dennis, Saxton Huxley, Sam Gradwell, Amir Jordan / Tiger Turan, Danny Luna, Dave Mastiff, Amelia McKenzie, Primate, Nina Samuels, Shaw Samuels, Sid, Trent Seven of all people, Ashton Smith, Jack Stars, T-Bone, Teoman, um, Raja, also from D Familia, Flash Morgan Webster, Wild Boar, Kenny Williams, Eliza Alexander, and the Scottish Supernova Noam Dar have all been released as of August 18th, 2022. That's a big shame. I don't even really know what to say about that. Um, I'm sure none of these people saw this coming, and maybe they were. It's just shame. Hopefully they can all get jobs. Hopefully, like most of them can get brought back for NXT Europe whenever the heck that comes. Um, and it's just ridiculous. So it's a little upsetting to have to review the show after just reading off that list of names there, but hopefully they can find some work and they don't have to struggle too much with their bills and whatnot. So this week's episode, we'll just get into it, I guess. I'll talk about it a little bit more after the episode, or I kind of have a big breakdown during the main event. Not a breakdown, but like a breakdown of the situation, not a mental breakdown. But anyway, this week's episode of NXT UK starts with Joe Coffey coming out for his first round NXT UK tournament match. In a picture-in-picture, Joe Coffey says, "I'm back, refreshed, and I'm straight into the tournament for the NXT UK Championship. That means going to the finals, and finals means prizes. So how good would NXT UK look with two Gallus boys on top?" And then the promo ends. So that was a pretty bad promo, I'm not going to lie. The crowd's now cheering loudly for Joe Gallus, and it did not take long for the first person on the show that's been released to come out. It is Mark Andrews, having been let go 2 weeks before a big pay-per-view event in Wales. That's definitely some sad stuff there. Mark Andrews in the picture-in-picture says, "Back in 2017, I made it to the semifinal of the first ever UK tournament. Back then, I showed my potential, but now I have the opportunity to achieve that potential." And that was a better promo there. So Mark, as usual, is going to be the smaller man in this match. The two men shake hands and then get to wrestling right away. So Mark gets a headlock applied twice in a row, and then Joe hits a big shoulder tackle, and Mark tries an arm drag and a Hurricane Rana, but the power advantage here of Joe Coffey was able to block both attempts easily. Joe Coffey then hits a scoop slam, and Mark counters a next attack with a back elbow. Mark then leaps up off the ropes with a Hurricane Rana, but Joe gets back control right after hitting a backbreaker. Mark hits some strikes and now absorbs them and hitting a vertical suplex. And Joe applies a modified half Nelson here. Mark tries to flip out of it here, but again, Joe was way too strong for him. Joe tries for a standing elbow drop right after this, but Mark's able to evade it. Mark gets the half Nelson right back on, though, and Mark's in trouble now as he's been into this move kind of a combined minute if you combine the two times it's been applied. So Mark gets out and then weirdly takes forever to try and do a backslide that was never going to work. Joe was always too strong, and Mark pays for this, getting a huge headbutt to the chest from Joe Coffey. But Mark is able to answer back with a big DDT right after that. And this match is kind of stuck in first gear. It's just like moves being hit back and forth. Not really a match per se. Mark now quickens the pace here and drops Joe with a flying forearm. Mark sees his chance here and unloads a quick striking combo. Mark slides on his knees to avoid the next attack, but Joe gets his foot hung up on the rope, hanging over the apron, and then Mark hits a big stomp. That looks pretty cool. So Mark Andrews now hits a big kick and a springboard crossbody for a 2 count, but Joe catches a monkey flip attempt or blocking it. You know what I mean? He had him caught here and immediately hits an overhead belly-to-belly suplex. That was awesome. And Mark Andrews is just barely able to kick out. So Mark will have to avoid any more big shots to his small frame. Otherwise, he's not going to be able to survive much more big shots like that one. Mark's now able to counter a suplex, hitting a stun dog millionaire, but it doesn't affect Joe too much, who then counters a springboard attack with a uppercut in midair. That looks great. Joe Coffey now hits the Glasgow send-off right after, followed by the Black Coffee discus lariat, getting the 1-2-3. The winner of this match by pinfall, Joe Coffey. and he'll move on to the semifinals of the NXT UK title tournament. So this match was fine, but like I said, nothing special. They didn't really have good chemistry. It never could really leave first gear. Joe Coffey winning his first match back here, and we'll move to the semifinals and take on tonight's winner of the main event, Tyler Bate or Kenny Williams. And it also looks like Joe Coffey and Mark Coffey will be getting NXT UK tag title shots really soon, maybe even this week on NXT 2.0 against current champions Josh Briggs and Brooks Jensen. So Gallus showed up on NXT 2.0 attacking the current tag team champions of NXT, the Creed brothers, which are and all of Diamond Mine. So that leads me to believe that match is going to happen this week on NXT 2.0, and the Coffey brothers will win the NXT UK tag titles, and that'll set up the Coffey brothers versus the Creed brothers for the tag, not for any of the tag titles. It's just title versus title, just like I'm spoiled. The winner of the NXT UK the title tournament. But anyway, the winner of that is gonna take on Braun Breaker. Non-title matches, I'm assuming, unless they want to combine. They could make those title matches and combine the NXT UK titles with the NXT titles. So maybe those will end up being combined. But I have heard reports that the NXT Europe might want the NXT UK tag, just the regular title. We'll just have to wait and see, but maybe like the NXT UK and NXT tag titles are going to be unified, maybe even the women's ones. So we'll have to keep an eye on what happens in the next couple of weeks. If you're an NXT UK fan that didn't watch NXT 2.0 before, make sure you start watching 2.0 from now on, because that's where you're going to get at least some of the people that haven't been released yet. So in the back after a break here, Joe Coffey, having just won that match, is all pumped up. Joe says, now this is what it means to be in Gallus. We'll be champions again. And then you'll see after that, my first time back in the performance here after a long layoff, I'm feeling great. So Mark has escaped me 2 times of trying before, but in this tournament, there's only going to be one man left standing. It's going to be my kingdom, because the Gallus boys on top. So the segment ends there, and I can't even talk about what might happen with Joe in the tournament, since it was already spoiled on this week's episode of NXT 2.0. So the next one again is, sadly, both women have been released, as Amale comes out first. And I could see some of these released people definitely re-signing in 2023 for NXT Europe, with Amale definitely being one of them, as she's one of the few on the roster from the rest of Europe and not just UK or Ireland. Out next is Nina Samuels with her little mini top hat. And this match was set up last week when there was a impromptu Nina Samuels show where Nina made fun of Amale. So they tie up here, and Amale gets a headlock applied. Nina finds it hard to get out here, but Amale takes her to the mat, then looks for a pin here, only getting a 2 count. Amale leaps over Nina using the ropes and then applies the headlock again, but Nina's able to strike out, and then Amale hits a shoulder tackle, keeping having a good match here is Amale, who then hits a drop kick to the knee, and then another one to the face, and then a third one, which is a drop kick into the shotgun drop kick into the corner. So Amale's all over Nina here, who has not won a match in all of 2022 yet, and is definitely having trouble again. Nina then gets Amale off her game a little bit here and takes control. Nina hits a drop kick to the back and then attacks at the back a few times in a row. Nina now slams Amale face first into the mat and then gets a huge amount of boos from the crowd. Nina does a good job of working the crowd over for even more boos after that. Nina then applies a chin lock for a while here. This lasts for a little while. Then Amale gets back to her feet, but Nina hits a scoop slam right after for a 2 count. Nina then starts paintbrushing Amale, who just fires up, obviously. Then Nina counters with a nice tilt-a-whirl backbreaker. And the crowd is singing all kinds of songs and chanting about not liking Nina and rooting for Amale. Pretty good crowd here tonight. Amale's definitely in trouble now, as Nina's working over her back even more, but Amale is able to evade a drop kick and then hit multiple forearms that knocks Nina down. Amale now fires up even more, hitting strikes in the corner like a lariat and a bulldog out of the corner now. Nina now is barely able to kick out, and the crowd's chanting for Amale. Nina then is able to counter, but Amale counters immediately right back, and then Amale blocks or hits a big boot in the corner, and then a nasty spine buster that's called the Hope Breaker, her finisher for the 1-2-3. The winner of this match by pinfall, the French Hope, Amale. And Amale is definitely a great wrestler. She showed it again here and definitely should be invited to NXT Europe. Nina Samuels isn't quite as good in the ring as Amale, but I see potential as a manager for Nina Samuels. She can work over the crowd really well, and she's good at talking. So hopefully both ladies can get some work along with everyone else that's been released from NXT UK. Amale is talking trash here to Blair Davenport before leaving, and I wonder if we'll still have time to get that match before NXT UK goes off the air. Like I said, I don't know if we have 2 weeks. It's definitely for sure 2 weeks because they're going to show the rest of the tournament. Both semifinal matches are next week, so they could just have the final match the week after, which I think would just be in time for September 4th. Yeah, it was just ridiculous that they had to spoil it on NXT 2.0 though. Anyway, in the back now we see Oliver Carter. He's leaving the trainer's room. If you remember, Oliver Carter got his knee attacked and damaged big time from D Familia 2 weeks ago. But last week, Oliver was able to beat a third member of D Familia in a row, which was also a first round match in the tournament. So now Oliver has moved on to the semifinals, which we found out later on would be next week, as both semifinals would be next week. Oliver has to take on the dangerous and kind of mentally broken down, ready to do anything Trent Seven in the next round. So Oliver is up against it. He comes out of the trainer's room and he tells the cameraman that his knee feels good. And then Trent Seven walks up right away, interrupting and says, "Is it though? To me, it looks like a heavily bandaged knee, probably causing you some discomfort. So what I recommend to do is just give me the bye straight to the final and save yourself any more discomfort." Oliver says, I think if I remember correctly, the last time Ashton and myself faced you and Tyler, we made you guys in the X champions, didn't we? Trent Seven says, yeah, you did. And it was also the most important and pivotal moment of my career because now the fans and you can see who the real Trent Seven is. And the real Trent Seven is going to break your leg. So then Trent leaves, and Oliver looks a little mad, but also a little worried. His knee is definitely not even close to 100%. So I definitely love this promo. You might just be thinking that Trent's lazy trying to get him out of here, but Trent legitimately maybe didn't want to hurt Oliver's knee anymore unless he had to, which now he has to. So remember last week when Trent won his first round match, he didn't even have to cheat to win that match. So he's got a different kind of heel character going, but unfortunately, probably the biggest shocking name on the entire released list was Trent Seven. I know he's older, like he's like over 12 years older than Tyler Bate. So, but still, I did not see. It's just a sticky situation. But anyway, after an ad break, now we see Ilya Dragunov. He's sitting in the studio. He's got his music playing behind him as he says, "This is my message to every competitor in the NXT UK title tournament. Impressive, inspiring, how every single one of you are willing to give it everything you got for this prestigious prize. And I'm curious to know who will take my place as the champion. But pay attention to the wording, my place. Whoever it is, you better sleep well and fight hard, because the second I get back, I'll throw my entire existence in front of you in a way that you've never seen before. Long live the Tsar." And then the segment ends. So hopefully Ilya isn't out injured too long, and then he could just go straight to Raw or SmackDown when he returns. He might go to NXT 2.0 instead, but I think Ilya's proven enough that he probably could just go straight to Raw or SmackDown. So we've got another match next, and it'll be a tag team match as Chase U comes out, all three of them. So it'll be Andre Chase and Bodhi Hayward, accompanied by Thea Hale. So big cheers from the crowd for Chase U. And then their opponents, wow, this one was set up last week. It'll be Eddie Dennis and Saxton Huxley. Sadly, two more people that have been released. But this match was set up last week when Andre Chase was teaching a class. Then Eddie Dennis walked in and was talking trash, including saying, "Well, I was a former teacher too." And then making fun of Bodhi Hayward by saying, "Why did you take that Neanderthal under your wing?" Andre didn't even really deny the Neanderthal part and just said, "Well, if you think it's so easy, how about you take that Neanderthal underneath your wing?" So then it panned back to show Saxton Huxley was sitting in the back of the class eating meat with his bare hands. So this should be a funny match here. That segment last week was pretty entertaining. I was kind of hoping they would just have a backstage segment or another like vignette or whatever. Instead, we're just going straight to the match here. So Saxton runs around here while Eddie tells him to settle down when they come out. And Eddie Dennis has some of the worst ring gear I've ever seen. It's awful, just absolutely terrible. It hurts my eyes to look at it. It had like Black. It's black and green, but the problem was all the different shades of green on it. It had like, I don't know, like 9 or 10 different shades of green, all creating this mess of blah. Like, ugh. Tear, throw that one away, Eddie Dennis. Anyway, Eddie and Andre are going to start the match. So the two teachers of the team, the two mentors here. Eddie takes Andre down and then yells at Saxton about, this is catch as catch can wrestling right here. Andre then rolls out of an armbar and knocks Eddie down. Andre says, now that was a teachable moment. So this makes Eddie mad, but Andre takes him right back down, hitting the Chase U stomps that the crowd cheered along with. So they must be NXT 2.0 fans as well for them to even know that. Unless I guess he could have told him before the match and we just didn't see it. Anyway, Bodhi Hayward now tags in and hits a pretty bad looking sunset flip. Then Andre tags in and tags Bodhi right back in. They work a bunch of double teams here on Eddie Dennis's arm. Andre tags back in now, another double team on the arm. But a little bit after that, Eddie Dennis gets control. He tags in Saxton, and they want to hit or try a double team here on the arm, but Saxton hits Dennis's arm instead on accident. So Eddie then distracts Andre so Saxton can take control. Right after that, Saxton Huxley now hits a running elbow drop, but Andre kicks out at one, showing a lot of toughness here. So the crowd's in love with Chase U. Like I said, they're just going nuts for them. Eddie now tags in and hits a back elbow on Andre. Saxton tags in now and hits a few strikes, and Andre fights back, but Saxton Huxley counters him, hitting a corner lariats. A couple of them here. Saxton then hits Andre so much that Andre collapses, but Andre is able to evade an elbow drop right after that and tag in Bodhi Hayward. Eddie Dennis tags in as well, and Bodhi takes him out twice in a row with a chop block. Then Bodhi hits a big shoulder tackle and a running splash on the ground for a 2 count. Saxton now runs in, but Bodhi throws him out. But Eddie is able to hit a back suplex right after that and tag in Saxton Huxley. Saxton comes in with a flying shoulder tackle. Then Saxton was in control, but Eddie yells at Saxton here to tag him in. So Saxton just leaves after tagging out. Eddie didn't even really notice yet. So Andre then counters Eddie, and Chase U hits the flatliner. It's a double team flatliner off the back of Bodhi Hayward, and this gets the 1-2-3. The winners of this match by pinfall, Chase U. I mean, that was a pretty good match here. Kind of the best of the 3 matches we've gotten so far, but it wasn't as fun as I figured. So I was figuring not a very good match, but more fun. This was good match, not as fun. So what do you, go figure, right? So anyway, Saxton Huxley is back now. The ending part here I liked. It was kind of funny. So Saxton is back. Maybe didn't even leave all the way, but Eddie yells at Saxton, who then hits a sit-out choke bomb on Eddie. Then Bodhi Hayward and Saxton chest bump. Andre just wants to shake hands, though. That was the part that was funny because he didn't want to do the damn chest bump. Pretty good segment there. And then hopefully Eddie and Saxton can find works along with the rest of the release people. And then Chase U, meanwhile, they continue to get better and better every week, more and more popular. They're even popular over in the UK now. So we go from that to a video about Noam Dar wanting his Heritage Cup back. So Noam says, we have to change the game. That's why no other brand has this style. Mark Coffey, the current Heritage Cup champion who beat Noam Dar for that, says, it's all about having 6 matches back to back. The Heritage Cup represents the legacy of the UK. Noam says, all those old boys watching, pat yourselves on the back. But it's my time now. And then they said a lot more here, but it was definitely hard to recap videos where one guy says a line and another guy says a line. But this was pretty good. But it definitely has me wondering, is this going to be another Mako Satomura Saray situation? Are they going to get us all pumped up for this Heritage Cup Championship match and then not have it because NXT UK is dead? It'll be I haven't I looked ahead. I try to stay away from spoilers. Sometimes they just throw the champion out on TV before the first match is even over on live TV. So sometimes I can't help it. But something like this, I'm not even gonna go look up because everything else, the tournament's already been spoiled. So why would I want to spoil everything else? So anyway, if that match ever happens for the Heritage Cup, it should be a good one. But in the meantime, like I said, the Coffey brothers are probably going to be on NXT 2.0 next week here in America, live on TV, winning the NXT UK tag titles against Briggs and Jensen. So wow, next is like I said, next week is both semifinals, so there might only be 2 episodes left of NXT UK, maybe 3 at the most. So it's definitely strange, and that's why I was thinking maybe the Heritage Cup match isn't even going to happen, but maybe it'll be there. on one of these last two events. But it's main event time for this week's episode as Kenny Williams comes out for the last first round tournament match here. Kenny has also been released, unfortunately. So in a picture-in-picture, Kenny Williams says, "Good little boys like Tyler get opportunity after opportunity, but you always finish last. I think it's about time a scumbag like me finishes first." When this shoulder is covered by the NXT UK Championship. Another bad promo on these picture-in-pictures. So Tyler Bate now comes out the huge cheers from the crowd. The first ever NXT UK champion, the first ever Triple Crown NXT champion. And in a picture-in-picture here, Tyler Bate says, "Tonight, I will take one step closer to fulfilling my dream of becoming the first two-time NXT UK champion. I'm also going to crush Trent Seven's dreams in the process." And that wasn't even that very good. So I guess none of these picture-in-picture promos sound good. They must have been rushed. Either that or somebody in charge already knew that NXT UK was about to fold. It's just the whole way they handled this thing has been weird ever since the Mako Saray match was canceled. So anyway, plain and simple, in my opinion, the reason that NXT UK failed, other people are going to tell you other things, but I think at the end of the day, the pandemic is what killed NXT UK. I think the pandemic was the biggest thing. Now, just look at it like this. Tyler Bate, who is now 25 years old, he was a young prodigy that came into NXT UK at the age of 19, became the first NXT UK champion. But look at this stat. Since the pandemic, Tyler Bate has had 21 matches. 2.5 years, 21 matches. To put that into perspective, before the pandemic, when Tyler was 23 years old and younger, he had 556 matches. 21 in 2.5 years, 556 before that. Having 21 matches in only 2.5 years is gonna stagnate you. And of course, people are gonna say the main thing was that WWE stopped allowing everyone to take independent bookings. And then, but my counterbalance would be yes, Tyler Bate hasn't taken any independent bookings since the pandemic. He was still able to do some smaller stuff before that, where he was still getting matches. Before the pandemic happened, Tyler Bate was having, even after he was banned from working the independents, he still was working. What was it? Like 100 plus matches a year. Then he was down to like 15 a year, and in 2022 Tyler Bates had like 4 or 5 matches. And it's just that's just one example, but I really think, like, if you just look at it, that Tyler Bate before the pandemic had 556 matches, and now since only 21. And Tyler Bate was only 23 when the pandemic happened. So to me that really tells me the pandemic's the main reason that NXT UK failed. But they could have done a lot more. This whole since the pandemic, with having like one taping, and you tape like 6 weeks of stuff in a row and then you never really come back. Then they're not working independence either. So it's just a little it's definitely those two things combined, but I think they might have probably still survived if it wasn't for the pandemic, just for the pure fact that NXT 2.0 had a live tour. Sure, it wasn't in the UK, but they could have sent UK people over for the live tour for NXT between tapings. That could have been something they were doing. So I think the pandemic's the biggest reason why NXT UK failed. But at this point, I think it probably was a good idea to just scrap it and start over with NXT Europe. Um, Give it a new fresh coat of paint. Use what you learned here and the failures you made in NXT UK to try and make NXT Europe better with a rebranding, a relaunch, and all that stuff. Of course, like I said, it's unfortunate so many releases happen, but um, we'll find out more news in the next few days and months about what's going to happen and whatnot. Not just the releases, but how things got this way and stuff like that. So I think NXT Europe's going to be good overall, and they'll have learned from their mistakes, and maybe they can do things better. But let's get back to this main event match. This ends up being a really good match, in a good way. If we only have 3 shows left, including this one, a good way to start closing us off here. as the NXT UK era. So both Kenny and Tyler look ready for this one. Again, it's Kenny Williams against Tyler Bate. Last first round match. The semifinals start next week. Both of them will happen. So Tyler gets a headlock on right away, but Kenny shows good agility to nip up and get out of that. They have some great chemistry, and they're really doing some next level stuff here, going back and forth, grappling, blocking, reversing, countering. Some beautiful stuff to watch. They were even throughout that, and then they reset. Tyler wants to shake hands, but Kenny fakes shaking hands as if he was Ric Flair. That made me laugh there. So Tyler now gets mad. Kenny goes back to the throat, to the throat to take control. Taking Tyler down to the mat now with a Greco-Roman knuckle lock. And then Tyler bridges all the way up and all the way like to a deadlift. That was insane. Then Tyler hits a back body drop and a drop kick. Kenny Williams now rolls out of the ring and avoids a dive, but Kenny takes control for a second, and Tyler evades a dive as well. So Tyler tries to do an airplane spin, hitting Kenny into the ring post, but Kenny's blocking or ends up blocking that, and then has Tyler run into the ring post himself. Back in the ring now, Kenny Williams is wearing down Tyler Bate and then gets a 2 count. Kenny then blocks a sunset flip, but Tyler evades his punch down to the ground. Kenny then punched the mat hard. So Kenny now takes control after that and does hit a big bunch of strikes here. Kenny works over a cravat on the neck, but Tyler's able to deadlift him up and then hit an electric chair drop. Both men are now down and they get up at the same time. Tyler hits big uppercuts here, but Kenny fights back. Tyler counters him and then hits a missile drop kick off the top rope or middle rope, maybe. Then Tyler hits a nice deadlift, overhead suplex. Great stuff here. Tyler follows that with a beautiful standing shooting star press, and then Kenny's just barely able to kick out of that. Kenny then blocks the Tyler driver attempt and chop blocks the knee here. Kenny then hits a rolling Death Valley driver. Another great move in this match. Tyler's just able to kick out and is in trouble now. Both men try to recover on the mat here, but the referee starts a 10 count, and that gets them to fight again. Tyler blocks a bad luck facebuster attempt, one of the finishers of Kenny, and then lifts Kenny up for an airplane spin. Kenny's able to grab the ropes, but then Tyler goes the other way with the airplane spin and then throws Kenny forward down, then hits a huge rebound lariat that crutches Kenny. So great match here. Both are super smooth with all their maneuvers, and this is by far the match of the week. So both men now battle back and forth with big strikes. Kenny counters the bop punch, but then Tyler hits it soon after anyway, and that knocks Kenny Williams out of the ring. Tyler dives out onto him, then gets right back in the ring and hits a deadlift German suplex with a bridge, only getting a 2 count. But Kenny Williams is definitely in major trouble and almost out of it here. So Kenny counters the Tiger Driver again, but his bad luck facebuster attempt is blocked as well. Tyler then catches Kenny, hits a release German suplex, followed by a giant lariat from hell, and then the Tyler Driver 97 gets him the 1-2-3. The winner of this match by pinfall, Tyler Bate, who will now move on to next week's semifinal match against Joe Coffey. In the other semifinal, it'll be Trent Seven against an injured Oliver Carter. So everything's looking like we might get Mustache Mountain exploding in the final episode of NXT UK, which is, if it's going to go out on a bang, that's one way to do it. But don't forget the official last episode of, or not episode, but the official last NXT UK thing is going to be a September 4th premium live event on WWE Network and Peacock. NXT 2.0 against or versus NXT UK. So this was a really good match. The crowd goes absolutely wild for Tyler Bate as the show ends. And this was a great match to remind people that NXT UK was not a complete failure. There are some big stars that are now known worldwide because of this brand, and there might even be more on the way. Who knows if Ilya Dragunov or someone like a Tyler Bate are able to main event WrestleMania before their careers are over. So I wonder how many episodes of NXT are left, UK, I should say. Maybe 2 or 3, I would think. And like I said, September 4th, we also have Worlds Collide, a premium live event, NXT 2.0 versus NXT UK. But yeah, don't think that NXT UK was all failure. And I don't think it killed the independent scene in UK either. It might have made things harder, and they might have had to try a little harder. But overcoming that adversity, I do think that Progress, Rev Pro, and a few others are in healthy positions right now. I know Rev Pro is just launching their streaming service right now, and then you'll be able to watch like all these guys on the streaming service as well. So I'm assuming some of these release people will go to Rev Pro now. Some will go to Progress. Others will go to maybe America for independent dates or X WXW, or some might just wait around and try and hope for the call for NXT Europe, because some of those release people in NXT UK are going to go to NXT Europe. It's just like they say 2023 for NXT Europe. That could be February or that could be November. So it could be a year from now over a year from now before NXT Europe starts. I know this very well from being a video games fan. When you hear the words, "Oh yeah, it'll come out in 2023," you better believe that's coming out like December, man. So anyway, I'll be here to the bitter end. No pun intended with that one, but yeah, I'll be here 2 or 3 more weeks, and then of course you can still follow all my reviews for NXT 2.0, highly in depth. I also cover NXT Level Up. You don't see very many people covering that show, so I do cover the NXT 2.0 very thoroughly. And if you're new to the NXT 2.0, just go watch back some of my reviews from the last couple of months for a refresher, because all your favorites from NXT UK, if they weren't released, are now going to be showing up on Tuesday nights live in America. So it's not all gone, and I think NXT Europe's definitely going to have it's not going to be completely the same as NXT UK, but it's not going to be completely different either. So the spirit will live on in NXT Europe if you're one of those big NXT UK fans. And I think the NXT UK title will live on all the way to the NXT Europe, where it'll be like the Intercontinental title or the secondary titles. So thanks for tuning in. Enjoy your nights, and I'll be back with more reviews like NXT Level Up and SmackDown coming up, and then of course Monday Night Raw and NXT 2.0, where we might see Gallus, the Coffey brothers, taking on Briggs and Jensen for the NXT UK tag titles. So if you're a fan of NXT UK, don't miss out on NXT 2.0. They'll be back there again in the next couple of weeks, and maybe a lot are going to be there permanently. And they already have a lot of people that came from there anyway, like A Kid and you got Pretty Deadly. Unfortunately, Grizzled Young Veterans are now the dyad as part of the Jism. Yes, I said that. What culture? Thank you for that one. But no, I mean NXT UK wasn't a failure. Just look at all the stars. I mean, their names might be Butch and Gunther now, but they are on the main roster. It's only a matter of time before Tyler Bate, Ilya Dragunov, and a few others get to the main roster. And some of these guys might be headlining and main eventing WrestleMania before their end of their careers. And would they have ever gotten this far without NXT UK? Maybe. We don't know. But in the meantime, NXT UK did give them a platform to get all the way up to the main roster. Like I said, some of them aren't there yet, but I'm sure Ilya Dragunov, Tyler Bate, and a few others are all going to be on the main roster. Maybe like a Pretty Deadly is going to be there soon enough. They butchered your boys, Grizzled Young Veterans, that's for sure. But it's not a failure. It is not a failure, and it will live on in NXT UK. I mean Europe. So if you're a huge fan of NXT UK, it's not going to be like forever dead. It's going to live on in NXT 2.0, and then up until the point where it gets to NXT Europe. But then, like I said, you can see some of those people maybe in the main event of WrestleMania before their careers are over. Maybe we'll get a Walter Ilya Dragunov match in a main event of WrestleMania. So, and then you could be like, I was there when I was the NXT UK diehard fan, and I was there when they first were getting big or whatever. So, um, good stuff overall. I think from NXT UK's point of view, it's unfortunate that it ended this way. I will say more so than not allowing people to do independent dates. I think the pandemic is the real reason NXT UK just couldn't get anything going. And that stat I told you about Tyler Bate, 556 matches before the pandemic, from the ages of 23 and younger, and then from the 2.5 years since the pandemic, he's had, what was it? 17 matches, 21 matches in a 2.5 year span. And this guy had 556 matches from the ages of 23 to like 16. So that's how big of an impact the pandemic had. it's a combination of the pandemic and not allowing them to do like Rev Pro and stuff like that, different independent dates. So yeah, I'm gonna get going. I will be reviewing the rest of these until they're done. I think there's only 2 left, maybe 3 at the most. But like I said, make sure you check out my NXT 2.0 reviews because these guys are all going to be showing up there, other than the unfortunate ones that were released. So have a good time, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. Peace.